Alright, what's up guys? eBay's here checking in. Got a little project going on. We're doing struts and ball joints on the 03 Chevy Trailblazer. So I'm gonna go ahead and I decided to do a little video so you guys could follow along if you're interested. So here we go. Alright, so I got my boy Christian right here helping me out. Work the camera a little bit, work the jack, work a couple tools, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so like I said, this is a 2003 Chevy Trailblazer. This is the EXT model with a 4.2 liter V6. So what we're gonna do first is go ahead and jack up the vehicle. Now Christian here is gonna go ahead and jack it up on the frame. It has to be jacked up on the frame because you got to be able to move the spindle and the lower control arm, so he's doing that right now. Okay, now he's putting a jack stand under there for extra safety. You know, we don't want to go ahead and have an accident, so he's putting the jack stand by the jack, and that way we're going to use the jack to support our A-arm and all that stuff we got to be able to do. There you go. Now we're going to remove the tire. I got a screwdriver here to pry this cover. Set it aside. These use a 19mm socket. So remove all your luggage. Set them aside, make sure you don't lose them, and set your tire aside. You won't be using that. Alright, so the first thing we're going to go ahead and remove is we're going to remove our sway bar end link over here, and we're going to remove our steering our tie rod, our auto tie rod. Remove it from the spindle. That way we could rotate this however we need it to make our job a whole lot easier. So for this, I recommend that you put the jack under the control arm in a way that it won't cover the ball joint from the bottom, because you're going to have to get access to it. And jack up pump the jack up. Okay, now we remove our end link, and that's an 18mm socket. Now if you don't have any air tools or power tools, it's okay. You can use regular hand tools, like maybe a wrench or a ratchet with a socket, whatever. But I like to use them because I have them, so it makes things a little faster. Depending on how much rust and stuff is in there, these may get stuck towards the end, and the whole end link starts rotating. Sometimes that's like a ball joint, so if it starts rotating and it doesn't come out, you have to get a Allen wrench or Allen keys, whatever you have in hand, and you got to stick this at the end of it, just like this. Here, grab the camera, Christian, and record over here. Alright, so the actual bolt or the end of the end link has a hole in it for an Allen key. So you would stick that in there and then get your wrench or whatever and start losing that nut out. But we were able to get it with the air tool, so there's no problem there. Now it looks like I jacked it up too much. As you can see, the angle of the bolt is up, so I'm gonna let it down a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Comes right out. It looks like these need to be replaced, but that's going to have to be at a later time. Those are pretty easy to replace anyway. So now moving on to this side, we got to go ahead and do our outer tie rod, which is sitting right here. There's a bolt here, a nut, And that's a 18 millimeter too. No, actually, take that back. I think that's a 21 or 22. It's actually a 21 millimeter. So gotta get you a 21 millimeter. Get you an extension. Again, if you don't have air tools, just a wrench. There we go. It's out. I like to put them near the stuff that it goes to. Like if it goes to this, I put it over here. Like this one that we took off the sway bar, we put it over here. Now we can go ahead and get a mallet. You need a mallet or a sledgehammer. I think this is considered a sledgehammer. I don't know, 8-pound hammer. And just give it one good tap on the top. Don't continuously tap it. Move the camera back a little bit so I won't, because you might damage the front and you won't be able to get the nut on there. So just give it one good tap to knock it out. The reason why I don't like to use the ball joint separator or whatever is because you end up tearing up the rubber. So you don't want to do that. So that's out of the way. Now we can easily rotate this. Now we need a ratchet and a 10 millimeter socket. We got to remove this brake line bracket so we won't overstretch it. The problem with overstretching the brake line is it tends to break on the inside, not the outside. So once it breaks on the inside, the inner liner, you'll never know it until you go try to press the brakes and the inner liner like collapses and plugs the hole up. So you won't get any brakes on this side. Depending how the brake system works on that car, you might not get any brakes at all in the front. Alright, I removed the brake line bracket right here. Now there's this small Christmas tree clip right here. Remove that also. That goes to the wheel speed sensor. So now that that's removed, we move on to the upper ball joint. So for the upper ball joint, we need a 15 millimeter wrench and a 15 millimeter socket. You need your wrench so you could hold the other side of the bolt or nut, whatever side you're hitting. There we go. Now this kit comes with a new one, so you won't need it unless you break the new one like we did on the other side. So you're probably going to have to use this again. So just as good to keep them until you're sure that you're not going to need anything. Now we move on to the lower ball joint. Alright, now for the lower ball joint we need a 24 millimeter. Now if you can't fit your gun in there, if you're using an impact gun, go ahead and raise the vehicle, raise the A-arm up enough so you can get your gun in there. There we go. Once you have it out, go ahead and put it back in. Maybe turn it 4 or 5 times. Alright, now we need a ball joint separator, aka fork. I bought this one at Napa. This is way better than cheap ones you buy at AutoZone or O'Reilly's. No offense, Christian, because he works at O'Reilly's. But this one's a real good one. It has the teeth to keep it from backing out. So we need this to remove the or separate the ball joint. There we go. Ball joint's been separated. Now we come over here to the upper ball joint right here and just give it a little tap. Just a couple taps. Just to get it get the dirt worked out. As you can see, there's got a lot of dirt on this one. And then just tap it up. There we go. It's loose. As you can see, I didn't stick any fork here. It's a lot of dirt and just stuff from the worn out rubber in there. So this was about to go pretty soon. Actually, this has a lot of play. So this was where he was getting the vibration from. Okay, so now this is loose. Now that we got our upper and lower ball joint loose, with the nuts still on the bottom one, I got a 5-gallon bucket, you know, any 5-gallon bucket really. Place it over here towards the front of the vehicle, under the fender, and remove your, while holding up the spindle with your legs or whatever you may choose to do, remove the nut. Once you remove the nut, this is going to tend to fall to the bottom. Go ahead and lift it and place it in the bucket, just so the caliper and this part of the spindle catches on it. There we go. As you can see, there's a little bit of tension, but not much, so it's okay. It's not going to hurt it. Now everything's exposed. Our upper control arm, and this is definitely damaged. We're going to have to replace it. The screwdriver. There's the Christmas tree clip up here. I don't know if you can see it. We got to remove that also. Actually, no. This is a clip, so we can press in the tabs and separate it. There we go. Just like that. So this is not supposed to do that. So we're gonna have to go ahead and remove this too. So for this one, it's a 21 millimeter. And you can't really get any sockets in there, so we're gonna have to do the old school way. Alright, all the bolts are loose. Now we just pull them off. Here's one. Here's the other one on this side. And out comes the control arm. So what's going on is this bushing, it moves in and out, as you can see. I don't know if I can get that on the camera, but push it in, push it out. See how much it moves? That's not supposed to be able to do all that. See that? This one's completely worn out. See? So the problem with having this like that is when you hit the brakes, this thing slides forward, and as soon as you let go, it slides backwards because you accelerate, so the weight shifted back, so that causes a vibration when you're hitting the brake. So we're definitely going to go ahead and replace these while we're at it, because they really do need replacing. So usually you can just bang these ones out. I don't know if we're going to be able to though. We'll see. I might have to put some penetrating oil on it. We'll set that to the side, and now we move on to our shocks. I mean our struts. These are called struts. So for the big bolt down here, we need a 18mm socket with a 18mm wrench. Stick your wrench in the back to hold it. And we're out. Alright, so we got to remove our upper strut mount bolts. There's only two. For this, it's 18mm. They're the factory bolts, I mean nuts. Now if you have aftermarket, I think it changes to 15mm. So I'm going to remove those. Now for this one, the one on this side, you may have to remove the air filter. Okay, so once you remove your air filter or air filter cover, set it to the side and pop this off of the filter. And you don't need to remove it, just all you have to move it is move it enough so you can get around it. So you go ahead and remove these two nuts. Set them to the side in case you need it. Alright, now we move back down here. Now we have to go ahead and just hit it with a mallet or hammer or whatever you have a couple times right here on the spindle. And make sure you have the tension off of it. There we go, all the tension's off. Hit it a couple more times and the bolt should come out. Alright, now the way that I like to pull the shuck off or the strut is let the jack all the way down till you have enough play up there. I'll put my knee here and with one hand put pressure up on the strut. It's not going to come out, but just put pressure up and then tap this. You got to make sure you get a good grip on it. Just tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it. Keep tapping, keep tapping. I'm not tapping that hard, it's just you know, light taps. It doesn't need to be a whole bunch. And I bottomed out here on my jack, but if you bottomed out, just let it down and put more pressure and continue to tap. There we go. Our shuck is out, our strut. And just slide it between the brake line. There we go. That's how to remove your strut. And in a few minutes we're going to go ahead and move on to the ball joints. So I'll show you guys how to do the ball joints. Alright, so stay tuned.